Mr. Chancellor, it is now my honour to present to you His Excellency, the Right Honourable David Johnston, Canada's 28th Governor-General. In this vast country, there are a few figures as distinguished and respected as His Excellency David Johnston. Born in Sudbury, Ontario, the Governor-General earned degrees from Harvard University, the University of Cambridge, and Queen's University. Upon graduating in 1966, he quickly established himself as an influential voice in Canadian academia, teaching law at a number of different universities in Quebec and Ontario. Over the course of his still unfolding 40-year career in academia, his expertise on legal and political matters made him a highly sought-after thinker. Brillant éducateur et administrateur, il a effectué de longs mandats à titre de recteur et vice-chancelier aux universités McGill et Waterloo. Figure de proue du milieu universitaire canadien, il a partagé son savoir et contribué à informer la population durant une période où s'est déroulé des conversations nationales de grande importance. As Crown Representative and the de facto head of state, His Excellency represents Canada domestically and abroad, and he has been a guiding force behind numerous federal and provincial commissions. Exemplifying an unparalleled dedication to public service, His Excellency is the founding chair of the National Roundtable on Environment and the Economy. His Excellency's many accomplishments, both before and since his installation as Governor-General, form an impressive and ongoing list. En 2012, par exemple, le cabinet du gouverneur général a ouvert la rencontre de la Couronne et des Premières Nations à Ottawa afin de renforcer les relations entre le gouvernement du Canada et les communautés autochtones. En 2013, Son Excellence a établi la Fondation Rideau Hall. Cet organisme caritatif, indépendant et politique aide personnes et organisations à réaliser leurs aspirations pour le Canada grâce à des projets axés sur le développement de la conscience communautaire et de travail bénévole. Recognized with over 20 honorary degrees, His Excellency's accolades are extensive. He is both a Chancellor and a Principal, an extraordinary companion of the Order of Canada, and an honorary Fellow of the Royal Society of Canada. In 1992, His Excellency received a 125th anniversary of the Confederation of Canada Medal in recognition of his work as an outstanding Canadian citizen. He is also a recipient of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal. Mr. Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate and the Board of Governors of Concordia University, it is my privilege and honor to present to you His Excellency, the Right Honourable David Johnston, so that you may confer upon him the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
It gives me great pleasure to ask His Excellency, the Right Honourable David Johnston, Governor-General of Canada, for his convocation remarks. Thank you.
Mr. Chancellor, Chairman of the Board of Governors, President and Vice Chancellor, distingués invités, graduating class of 2016, parents et amis, thank you for bestowing upon me this honorary degree from your distinguished and innovative university. I am deeply touched to receive this tribute. And Alan, thank you for that warm and generous introduction. I'm not always so used to receiving introductions like that. I was in Rankin Inlet 10 days ago. Sharon and I were part of a trip to northern communities around the Arctic Circle. And I was introduced to a group of 5- and 6-year-olds in their junior kindergarten in grade 1. And the teacher described the Governor General being there, and at the end of the description, one had the sense that I was the Pied Piper ready to lead them out for a vacation from school. So to break the ice, I said to the children, I'm the grandfather to 12 grandchildren. Do you know what my grandchildren call me? No. They call me Grandpa Book. Why do you think they call me Grandpa Book? And I expected the answer would be because you like books or you always read books to your grandchildren. That was the answer. Little 6-year-old girl put up her hand. She says, I think they call you Grandpa Book because you're so old. I'm honored to be a friend of Concordia University, one of the most creative, forward-thinking, engaged schools in the country. Je suis honoré d'être ici à Montréal et dans cette merveilleuse province où j'ai vécu pendant longtemps avec ma famille. Et je suis honoré d'être associé à un groupe de professeurs et d'étudiants qui, ensemble, font des choses remarquables pour notre pays et notre planète. I'm honored to have by my side Dr. Nora Volkow, who, like me, is receiving an honorary degree today and is a great pioneer on that marvelous new frontier, the human brain. And we were just exchanging thoughts a few moments ago about this great revolution in learning how the mind thinks, how the mind learns. And she was observing that about 85% of the human brain we've learned in the last 30 years, with much more to come. I should also say that I'm very happy to be here with you graduates, my peers in the class of 2016, even though I have a little more gray hair. You're ready to take on anything the future has to offer, and indeed to shape that future for the better. Thank you for making me a part of such a signal moment in your lives. Northrop Frye, one of Canada's truly great teachers and scholars of my generation, once indicated that there are 4 epic events in your life, and they are your birth, your marriage, your death, and your graduation. And the last of those 4 being the only one when you are sufficiently compos mentis to understand what is going on, so please enjoy this day very much. I want to illustrate a story, tell a story and then draw some conclusions from it. If I had an empty jar here at the podium, I would hold it up now, but just imagine in your minds that I'm holding an empty jar, and imagine I'm a professor in that first year Economics 101 or Philosophy 101 or Psychology 101, a large class, and the students are all eager because it's first day. And the professor says, this jar, I want you to watch it. Is it empty or is it full? And the students all says, it's empty, sir. And then he reached down to an envelope in the podium and he pulled it out, little box as a matter of fact, with some rocks in it. And he put the rocks into the jar right up to the top. Empty or full now? It's full now, sir. Another little box, and he pulled out some small pebbles, sprinkled them in. Empty or full now? Full now, sir. A third box, this one filled with sand. The sand in. Empty, full, or full now, sir. And then finally a can of Diet Coke, which he poured in up to the top. Empty or full now? It's full now, sir. I said, why am I doing this in this class of Economics 101 or Philosophy 101? He said, well, I'm teaching critical thinking. When you first said that jar that I held up initially was empty, it was in one sense, but it was filled with air. And then as you saw different elements being put into it, you had different kind of answers. So that's intended to demonstrate the importance of critical thinking. Look at things from several angles. But he says there's a much more important set of lessons from this jar. Think of this jar as your life now. In this case, entering university. In your case, leaving university. The jar is your life. It's a vessel. It's partly full. It's partly empty. The rocks are the really fundamental values in your life. They have to do with your sense of self-worth, your ability to move from me to we, that is the first person singular, to the first person plural. And the world gets to be a lot less lonely place when you begin to think in terms of we and your place in helping others. Your sense of compassion, your values, the moral compass, those things to which you have a sense of moral obligation and duty. Those are the rocks in your life. The pebbles, well, the pebbles are important. They are doing your exercises in a particular class, if you're in a team project, pulling your weight, at your job, doing your job and doing more. The responsibilities in life that we must fulfill, meet properly if we want to make our appropriate contribution. The sand, that's just stuff. That's hanging out. That's just sort of bobbing and weaving around. And so I'm here to tell you, get the rocks in your jar first, and then the pebbles, and only at the end, the sand. Because if you get it in reverse, there's no place for the pebbles and certainly no place at all for the rocks. And then being a good professor, as he was, he paused and waited for a few seconds, and then a very bold girl in the middle row put up her hand and said, "Sir, but what about the can of Diet Coke?" Oh, he says, "That's just to remind you that there's always time to sit down and have a cool drink with a good friend." I want to tell you just one other story that also has implications in moving from me to we, and it comes from my installation address, which was entitled "A Smart and Caring Country, A Call to Service," with 3 pillars: family and children, learning and innovation, and philanthropy and volunteerism. And it was about the sense of the responsibility we have as students, as citizens, especially in this country, Canada, where we have a caring nature. It's very much part of our DNA. And each gesture of kindness and thoughtfulness from me to we has important effect not only on you and the person helped, but those around you. And I illustrate that story, and I'll finish with this, by a story that took place here in Montreal about 25 years ago. Mother Teresa was here for the Greater Montreal Prayer Breakfast, and before the breakfast, a group of 50 or so got together with her. And one of our neighbors said, "Mother Teresa, we're so moved by your work. What can we do in our own lives to help?" And I expected, Alan being a university president of some years, she'd say, "Write a large check to my settlement in Calcutta, we'll put it to good work." She said, "Look in your own neighborhood, look in your own family. I guarantee you that there's someone who needs your love and care." And then she gave a wonderful address along the same lines at the prayer breakfast. In those days, there were 4 Montreal newspapers, and 3 of them were very laudatory in what they had to say about her address. The 4th was the newspaper that practiced realpolitik, kind of tell things as they are, get the varnish off, get right at the essence of it. And it said she gave a laudable speech, and she's a wonderful woman. She'll probably be canonized by her church as she was, but let's be practical. She operates a shelter for homeless people and people that are starving in Calcutta, India, 250 or so. Her work is helpful to them, but Calcutta is a city of 20 million people, half of whom live in abject poverty, in a country of 1 billion people, so many of whom live in the very difficult circumstances. Well, what she does is good. It's a drop in a bucket. It's a drop in the ocean. In the relative scheme of things, does it really count for much? And that's the way the editorial ended. That bothered me for the longest time until I was at a birthday party. We have 5 daughters. Birthday parties were important matters, and we'd finished a birthday party, and the eldest daughter, age 11, said, "Dad, you know the ghost stories you tell the kids at the birthday party? They're all lies, And the kids know they're lies. They just pretend to be scared because they know it'll hurt your feelings if they don't." "Why don't you do magic like Dean McFarland does?" Andy McFarland was the dean of the School of Journalism at Western. I was dean of law. So 2 months later, I go to a birthday party at the McFarland home, and here's McFarland the Magnificent, big top hat, gown, flowing mustache, doing magic, and the kids were mesmerized with his card tricks and so on. Then he reached down and he pulled out a glass of water and he said, "I will turn this water into wine." I thought, careful, Andy, the last time someone did that was 2,000 years ago with a little more authority than you have. But he had a dropper with a drop of red vegetable dye in it, and he dropped the 1 drop of red vegetable dye in the glass, and then he said, "Abracadabra, abracadabra," swirled it around, and the clear liquid turned a beautiful shade of rosé. And I thought, that's the 1 drop from Mother Teresa. I had been thinking of it in mathematical terms or physical terms. I should have been thinking of it as chemical engineering. That 1 drop of red dye interacting with all the molecules in that glass transfused them and changed the culture. And that's what you do with these acts of giving and acts of kindness. You change the culture, and that's the Canada we aspire to have. These stories are straightforward. The lessons are somewhat complicated, but they're lessons worth remembering and reflecting upon as you go forward. Your journeys are filled with amazing promise. You are chock full of knowledge, skills, and experience you've gained here in this great institution. Tout comme moi, vous avez le privilège de vivre dans un pays qui valorise la paix, la liberté, la démocratie, la justice, l'équité et l'égalité des chances pour tous. Ces valeurs canadiennes que nous chérissons et nous tenons souvent pour acquises vous seront utiles tout au long de votre vie. Yet what you have gained here at Concordia and those enduring Canadian values, peace, liberty, democracy, justice, equality, constitute a two-way street. There's a give as well as a take. So I pose this question to you and I urge you to reflect upon it. How are you going to use your knowledge, your skills, and your experience and the bedrock values, remember those rocks, on which they rest to create a smarter, more caring country, to create a Canada of the keenest minds and the kindest hearts? Well, you might be thinking, why he's asking me? I'm just getting started in my career. Well, to those questions I say yes, and you have the mix of energy, ambition, and ideas that our country needs. And yes, you're starting out, but your country needs you to begin using your talent today, because very shortly you will take a pledge that will support that. Je me suis donné comme mission en tant que gouverneur général d'amener les Canadiens et les Canadiennes de tous les âges pour suivre les buts. Je vous prie donc de vous joindre à moi pour réaliser cette noble mission en trouvant la meilleure façon pour vous de faire de notre pays un lieu plus averti et bienveillant pour tous les Canadiens et tous les Canadiennes. So please join me in fulfilling that honorable mission of creating a country that chooses innovation, inclusiveness, and compassion, and find your own way to make our country a smarter, more caring place for all Canadians. Merci.
Your Excellency, Dr. Johnston, the room was full when you entered here today, but it was made more full when you entered. You have filled our minds and our hearts by gracing us with your remarks here today. You have made Canada a better country with your leadership and your friendship, and we thank you.